So Web3, AI, tech, and apparel. How do you see this coming together? And what are your thoughts on this? How can it change the way apparel industry is functioning right now?
Yeah, I love that question. And I will say, when I started, when I was tumbling down the rabbit hole of all things Web3, one of the things that inspired me was the connection between tokenization and couture. And of course, that was the space that I was in. And what I consider couture fashion is the fine art of fashion. So when you think about hand craftsmanship and, a lot of hours, sometimes hundreds, upwards to thousands of hours being put into one garment by multiple individuals, like just focusing their attention on creating these works of art. I was thinking, well, what if we can use blockchain as a way of preserving the stories and legacies of these talents and skills and the individuals behind the art? We know of Picasso, but what about the beater that's beating these gowns, or the embroiderer that are embroidering these laces, and their stories and how generations of family members have been sustained by these crafts. And so that was something, but then also how you can create a whole new economy through tokenizing, valuable assets. And I see couture as a valuable asset. So that was my initial ooh, let me dive deeper. And that was my use case that kind of pulled me in, the magnet, beyond the trading of blockchain currencies. And so, as I explored that and NFTs and the storytelling you could do with digital art and how you can mint those, on the blockchain, not so much for tokenization, but for, storage of value, and then also to provide rewards and incentives. And it just expanded. And then you're looking at DAOs, decentralized autonomous organizations, and this new structure and formation of a company. And what does that mean when you are being governed and or inspired by the community and not necessarily just a board of advisors and then, the traditional C-suites? What does that mean, in terms of innovation and creativity? And then just continuing to expand outward vertically. But when we come back to fashion and we look at the different tools, and that's what I call them, right? Blockchain, a tool. AI, a tool. An immersive environment, powered or not by augmented reality or virtual reality tools for conversion and immersion, right? It's 3D, that's great, but it's still a tool of how you can create an experience. So when you look at these tools and then you overlay them with the fashion industry, then you look at it from a problem solving perspective, then it gets really exciting, right? So one of the areas that I was focused on, especially during the pandemic, was sustainability and circularity. And then, well, here is this issue we have, and everyone's upset about the waste. Well, what do we do about it? Are we going to sit around the circle and just complain about and count the tons of waste, or are we going to do something? And one of the areas of action was around textiles and alternative textiles. Another area of focus was around supply chain and how can you reduce waste and energy around supply chain. And then it's, well, let's look at the output, the physical garments and the numbers of items that are being put out into the marketplace. Well, how do we reduce the waste, the numbers that are actually entering into landfills? And can blockchain affect that? And then can AI affect that? And can 3D environments enhance those tools so people want to use those tools more? And that's where it all comes together. And so that's just one area. That's just sustainability. We're not even talking about productivity, in terms of the workforce. We're not even touching on the output and design and the front end product that's touching the customer. May it be enhancing and creating efficiency from that standpoint, or better storytelling or experiences. But that's just one aspect. So if you just look at the silo of sustainability and you look at artificial intelligence and what it can do on the supply chain side, where you can use artificial intelligence to pinpoint tools and processes that are going to reduce the amount of power, electricity, that are going to reduce the amount of water that you're going to use, or can help identify manufacturers or factories that are producing more sustainably. And so an independent designer or a brand can look at, use this tool to say, oh, ABC factory has more sustainable practices, let me use them. Or XYZ textile is going to last 5 years longer than this textile and stay out of the landfill for 5 more years, let me use that. And so these are various ways that we can look at the technologies and how it can engage within the fashion industry itself.